Well, today my son brought me over a few blades, lawnmower blades. He wants to get sharpened, and I thought I'd let you guys follow along as we sharpen these lawnmower blades. So I'm going to show you how you can tell just about how worn your blade is and whether you should or should not sharpen it. Now, that should or should not sharpen it really depends on the person and how much money you got. If you got the money, go ahead and buy new blades. If not, and you want to get by for a few cuts, sharpen them anyhow. So let me show you how you can tell if they're really, really bad. So now we have our lawnmower blade sitting out here, and as you can see, this is kind of bowed in here. So if you take a square and you set on there, you can actually see how much blade is worn away from that. It's a good bit worn away. So these have been sharpened before. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and clean this up a little bit. We're going to do our best to get these as sharp as we can, so he can get by until he can get him a new set. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is I want to make the backside flat. So we have a 2x72 inch grinder here, which will do a really fantastic job on these. We're going to do the flat part first. So it's going to get a little bit noisy, so just have to bear with me and keep your eyes on the grinder. We're going to lay our blade flat up against the back here, and we're going to get this as flat as we can. Now, as you can see how this is making this flat right here. We get it down a little bit, then we'll work on the other side. What you do want to have is some water handy so you can cool this blade down, because if you let it get too hot, it's going to take all the temper out of your blade. So every once in a while, cool your blade down. So now what you want to do when you start cutting the angle on your blade, you want to follow the original angle that's already on there. You don't want to change that. You want to try to keep that the same. It's a little bit tough, but you can do it. Just keep your eyes up in here when you're doing it. Watch this part right here. Start grinding a little bit and then follow it out. And as you can see, ours is kind of bowed. So we're going to have to follow that bow. We'll do the best that we can. See, I'm watching it. See, I cut just a little bit on the edge. I want to cut back this way a little more. Now that's about the angle we want. So I'm going to hold it in there. We're going to follow through. See, we're starting to get a nice flat air, nice and flat along here. Now we want to make sure we cool it down and some water. When it starts turning colors, you're taking the temper out of it. This is what we want our blade to look like all the way through, right up here. Once we got that side done up as good as we can get it, then we're going to take the back side and grind it flat again. Now we got just a little grind on that side, a decent amount on this side here. We're feeling pretty sharp. Now what we'll do is turn it over and we'll do the same thing to the other side of the blade. Now I think our blade is pretty sharp on both sides right now. Now, if you're wondering, do you have to balance these? And the answer is yes. And I'm going to show you how to do that. What you can do now is just take an old screwdriver, stick it in your vise. Or you can do this with a nail, or you can do it with a bolt, or whatever you have handy. And if you notice on your blade, this bump here is in the center, and these are not. So you can slide this bump either on a screwdriver or a nail, or if it was a complete circle, you would just lay it on the top of your circle. But this one here is in the up position, so we'll put it on our screwdriver. So we'll slide it on just like that. And if that blade stays nice and flat across there, then you know you're pretty level. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you want it to balance out. If one side was to sag down like this, then that means you need to take some weight off of that side. But this blade, it looks to me like it's in really good shape. So it looks pretty level. So this blade is good and sharp and ready to go for the next cut. So my son's going to attempt to sharpen his first blade, and he just watched us do it, so he's going to try the same thing. Now my son is in the other room sharpening on the 2x72 inch grinder. Now you can also use just a benchtop grinder to do the same thing. What you're going to do is grind the back nice and flush, and then you're going to flip it over and put your angle on it. Making our flat edge on here. Now we want to cut this edge over here, the angle. So we're going to flip our blade over, and we're going to follow the same angle as this right here. Every once in a while we have to dunk it in the water. Alright, that looks really nice, and we did that with a bench grinder. So if you got a bench grinder at home, you can do this with a bench grinder also. So now if you don't have a 2x72 inch grinder and you don't have a bench grinder, but you have a 4-inch grinder, this thing will work just as good as all of them too. Make sure your blade is in your vise nice and tight. And do your backside first, just like we did in there on the grinder and on the 2x72. We're going to go ahead and make this flat across here. So let's get started. Now we got that blade pretty flat on that side. We're going to flip the blade over, and we're going to start doing our angle on here. So we're going to follow this angle just like we did on the grinder and the sander here. Cool it off a little bit. You don't want it to get too hot. You can see right here I'm getting super sharp because it started to turn a little color, and that's something we don't want it to do. So now this just shows you that you can sharpen it with a 4-inch grinder, a 2x72 inch grinder, or a benchtop grinder. And if you guys don't have that, you can get yourself a file and take you about all day to get one side done. But you can do this with a file also. You probably have a better sharp if you did it with a file, but I don't know if I have that much time in the day to file a lawnmower blade. Just make sure that when you get done with these, is that you balance them with that screwdriver in the vise to make sure that they're not unbalanced. So you might get some vibration in your lawnmower deck. You might get some vibration in it, And that blade doesn't look too bad. And we used a grinder on one side and a 4-inch grinder on the other side. My son sharpened his first blade and he did a pretty awesome job. This could save you a good bit of money by being able to sharpen your own blades. There's only one issue when you sharpen your blade. You have to know that your blade is 10 times sharper than what you get from the store. So when you're putting these blades on, make sure you're wearing a good leather glove. I actually remember one time when I asked one of the guys that worked for me, do not tighten the blades up. I told him, don't tighten them blades up because they're sharp. And he tightened them up and he slipped. And he had a big old gash in his hand. So be really careful. These blades are super sharp. They're going to cut like no other. I hope this video helped you guys out. Sharpen your own blade. Save yourself some money. I would like to tell everyone thanks for watching my video. Don't forget to subscribe. Leave me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or a comment if you'd like. Till next time.